this is a presentation of all of the work that many people have done. And again, this isn't the capital campaign, give us money for this project. This is, and again, honestly, this has been going on for the 6 years that I've been here in some form or fashion. For 3 or 4 years, formally, we've been preparing for all this with surveys to the congregation, surveys to the community, interviews with the congregation, interviews face-to-face with the community. And we come up with a plan. Some of you in the business world maybe call it a strategic plan for how we can move forward with our mission. And that's what we want to present to you today, specifically on the facility side, because facilities are really important tools for carrying out the work that God has given us to do. So more recently, over the last year, we worked with our church body has this group. It's called Ministry Solutions. And they're all pastors. Some are full-time, do consulting work with churches. Others are pastors, other churches, and they travel and visit other churches to help. But whatever, they walk alongside churches to help refocus on the mission of that congregation and the context, and specifically in their community. And it's a process that's called ministry clarity. And so we've gone through this process, and one of the end products of doing all this work was to come up with what's called a guiding statement. Now, the guiding statement's not like a mission statement or a mantra or a logo or something. We're not going to put it on a poster anywhere. It's an internal guiding statements for us. And what it does is it always reminds us who we are and what God has called us to do. So in this room in September, we had members of the congregation. They were watching online too. And from the feedback and the answers to those questions, the vision team distilled all of that information, who we are, what God's called us to do, and the language, the words, the verbiage that they used, and to incorporate even the same words. And so this is it, the guiding statement. We are Jesus' beloved disciples growing in faith. Okay? That is who we are. That is always who we are. And what has God called us to do? Well, we are privileged to share his love with present and future generations. Something that came up over and over and over is such a strong consensus around this idea that we want to make sure we pass the faith down to the next generation. Children, youth, whatever the word was. Sometimes it was generations, to share our faith with the next generation. And so from that guiding statement, then we developed these 3 targets. These are like big goals. These are aspirational, right? And so the first one is that every member is faithful in weekly worship. You say, oh my goodness, that's a lot. That's a commitment. Well, we just talked about that. I just had a sermon on it. We're good. I don't need to elaborate more. But again, remember, we're online, right? So you can watch it Monday night when you get off work, whatever. But that commitment that we all need to make, right, to make worship an integral part of our weekly lives, our routine, right? Worshiping the Lord, our God, and serving him alone. Second target, that every member monthly is connected with a small group so that we're growing in our faith toward God and we're growing in fervent love towards one another. These are commitments that we all need to make as a family here at Desert Foothills to, again, carry out the mission in our own personal lives, our own purpose in life, and collectively as a church family. And then the third has to do with sharing our faith, the third pillar, right? Every neighbor sees Desert Foothills as the place for care and community. And this is something back, in the summer of 2020 that God really put on my heart. Even this wording right here, care and community. And so we just saw, I don't know how many of you remember 2020, but it was a memorable year. But just the fear and the anxiety that drove so many people, their behaviors, the way they treat people, the reaction to crisis, and it's just a stark reality how bad people need Jesus. But specifically, loneliness was still probably is one of the number one factors in mental health, the crisis that we're having right now in our country. Loneliness. Scientists have done studies in the brain. The same portion of your brain lights up when you hit your thumb with a hammer as the same portion of your brain that lights up when you're lonely. Right? It physically hurts to be lonely, isolated, quarantined. Right? God built all of us for relationship. Right? None of us are meant to walk this earth alone. And for forever, really, the church has always been the hub of community. For Western society, right, the church has always been the hub. If you wanted to meet new people, when you moved to town, when you wanted to connect with, whatever, the church was the hub of community. We've gone astray from that. The other thing about the church is that, again, during the pandemic and all the stuff, all these different people scrambling around trying to help, trying to do things to help people. But it's the church, historically, that's always been the source for care, for mercy ministries. Like, it was the church that started orphanages. Did you know before the church started orphanages, orphans were literally considered dogs? They ran the streets. They didn't have names. They weren't given names until maybe they were teenagers. So they're kind of like, well, let's wait and see if it lives, and then we'll give it a name. What? No, it's the church. No, every life is valuable. It's sacred. We want to care for every human being. Church started hospitals. Church started universities. The first, even public education. That was a little bit of a Lutheran, a braggart here, but it was Philip Melanchthon in Europe, Martin Luther's buddy, his sidekick, that advocated with the princes that we have to have public education. Every child needs an education. Every child needs to be able to read. Now, so they can read the Bible, but also, obviously, so they can partake in society in a meaningful way, a productive way. At any rate, again, the church has, in many aspects here in America, we have just relinquished all of these responsibilities to the government. And we're like, well, the government's got this, government can do this, government. And listen, I'm not against social safety nets. Those are wonderful things. We need those things. But it doesn't release us from our responsibility as the church to bring Christ's love and fellowship and mercy, care, to our neighbors. We have to recapture this calling that God has given to us. And so a large part of everything we're talking about is going to center around worship, connecting, growing in our faith and love, and then sharing that faith and love with our community. So we'll go through the buildings real quickly. I'm just going to talk about how each of the buildings in the master plan kind of connect to the mission. And then Lonnie Mart, our campaign director, is going to share a little bit about just the nuts and bolts of what the campaign is going to look like, how it's going to play out. And then we've got Steve Barduson as our architect. He's going to share more details about the buildings and the function of those things. But as far as, again, worship being the first pillar, I don't know how many of you guys get to go see the sanctuary over there where the traditional worship, but it's 22 years old. No, it's almost 24 years old. 24 years old. And it's 24-year-old carpet, 24-year-old paint on the walls, 24-year-old pews, 24-year-old lights, 24-year-old speakers. All right, all of that is going to needs a refresh. We want this to be a house of worship, a place that is sacred and excellent. We want to honor God in everything that we do. Add some music opportunities over there, a cry room. This is a brand new building for the contemporary worship. So this was built 15 years ago or so as a fellowship hall. And we've done some transformations, some remodels in here to make it function as a worship space. But it's not what it's designed for. And it's not the best. And it's kind of small, to be quite honest. This will be our fastest growing service going forward. And so we need more space for this worship. Again, worship, that mighty pillar that we have. So we want to enhance that. State of the art, it's going to be a landmark down on the street. Again, anything we can do to remove barriers for young families. So we have cry rooms, we have nursery classrooms conveniently located right there at the worship place, the venue. Then we're removing those barriers. Then this building, once we're out of here, this whole thing gets remodeled into a children's building, children's ministry. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I'll let you talk about the layout of it, but we have classroom. It can be all opened up, multi-purpose, one big space, or glass kind of wall classrooms, big room there, expand the kitchen, and obviously just, refresh everything in here. But it'll be a very big transformation for this building. And again, something for children. So when children come to our church, it's kind of like we're expecting them. Huh? Imagine that. It's like they feel welcome, like we want them to be here. We have something just for them. And the preschool will be able to use this building too. Talk about that later. Nurseries and cry rooms, talk about the kids. And the other new building, going right over here, will be a family life center. And this will have full college NBA size basketball court in the gymnasium, stage, meeting rooms, multi-purpose room, a big youth room. So now we're getting into the high school age groups. Just for them, same reason. When they come, we want to show them that we've got something just for you. We're expecting you. We want you to be here. And then the new church offices, so they'll be on the front part of the campus, kind of where the new main entrance, or at least the clear main entrance will be. And then the preschool remodel, we're going to replace the playground that's in the back. It is, guess what, 24 years old. We're going to build a new playground in front of the preschool, so like between this building and the preschool, so we can use it before church, after church, during church if you want to slip out. That's fine. That's fine. I'll let you do that during the sermon. The kids want to play on the playground. That'll be available to them. But it's interesting. So one of the big barriers to growth that we have for our preschool is actually our playground. So one of the state requirements, I think, 75 square feet per child. And so we'll be potentially doubling the size of the outdoor play space and increasing the capacity, enrollment of our preschool. The restrooms in the kindergarten room, that's new construction. Outdoor sink, the pony wall. It was amazing. So our preschool director and teachers, many of our teachers have been here for almost 20 years. And so when we went to talk to them and interview them, and what can we do? What does a preschool need? They knew it right away. They didn't even blink. They're like, we need a sink. We need sinks outside because our kids get messy, and then we could go inside. And here we could just wash, start our lunch. We need restrooms in this building. We have to walk all the way over here to go to the rest. They just knew exactly. Oh, the wall. There's this pony wall that goes around the playground. Some of you preschool parents have seen it. It's about this high. And so we need to get that low so the teachers can see the kids from anywhere in the playground. Kids can sit on it and eat lunch. It'll be great. Anyway, big improvements there. And then outdoor gathering space. Again, the pandemic helped us realize how nice it is to have Arizona climate and be able to have these meetings or events outdoors if that's necessary. But a lot of times we found it's just fun. I mean, our staff, we still like to meet outside. We just like to enjoy this Arizona climate. And so we can have movie nights, we have family barbecues. There's so many things we'll be able to do outdoors, and it's going to be a huge, huge outdoor space. And then there's going to be a main entrance. It's going to be very clear. Right now, if you've been coming to church here a long time, you probably don't notice it anymore. But if you imagine this is your first time here, you've got a parking lot here, a parking lot here, and a parking lot way over there. And then you got these three walkways that come in, and it's like, which way did I park? Where's the worship building? And where do I drop my kid? So we want to make it, again, eliminate all the barriers we can, right? We want to make it very clear. Here's the main parking lot. Here's the main entrance. You walk onto the campus. You orient yourself very quickly and very easily. And just kind of lower, again, one of those little stressful things people have when they come visit a church for the first time. It's intimidating. So we want to make that as easy as we can. And then right there where the offices are, so there's the sanctuary for the traditional services, and just on the other side of the offices is going to be the contemporary worship building. And so where that office space currently is going to be all gutted, all opened up into a combined lobby between the two worship venues, the nursery classrooms in the middle. So they share that same venue, the coffee, the hospitality area right there in the middle where they can both converge and maybe even mingle. Some, not all, but some of the people over there at the church, they're nice people. You'd like them. So you get a chance to meet them when we have that space. Outdoors, again, sign, parking, the traffic flow around the campus. all of that needs to be improved, and we've included, this is a comprehensive, it's a master plan for the whole facility here. And it's really exciting because you think 1996, I think, is when the fledgling congregation, Pastor Eugene Beyer was here, bought this land, 15, 17 acres, and it's kind of neat to see now. We're just on the cusp of really fully developing this land, this kind of dream that they had when they bought all of this land here, right on Scottsdale Road. It's awesome. I can't tell you how many churches, how many friends I know that are pastors, their churches are tucked away in the cul-de-sac of a neighborhood or something, just way off the road. This is such an opportunity to share Jesus with our community, just from our physical location. And so our commitment over this time period is obviously going to be prayer. I cannot stress enough how important your prayers are, each and every one of you. Pray for God's guidance, pray for God's blessings, because you know we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but who? It's the powers and the principalities of the air, the spirit world, right? There is a real spiritual enemy who does not want us to share the love of Jesus in this community. And we need to be prayer warriors, because I tell you, we've got a great team. Props to everybody on the team. Rachel, where's Rachel? You like that green booklet you got? Rachel designed that whole thing. It is amazing. Steve's going to share architectural plans. I've written strategic plans since I was 22 years old. I've been for the government, did long-range transportation plans, transportation improvement plans. I'm all about it. But I'm telling you, we can have all of the stuff in the world right. We have the right strategic plan, the right architectural drawings, the right graphics and perfect communication with everybody. But if we miss the spiritual component, if we don't pick up our spiritual weapons and fight this battle, we're not going to succeed. That's the most critical thing. And that's something that we can all do. That's what's so important. So prayer, and of course our time, we're going to ask for a commitment of time. So when this all wraps up, March the 6th, we have a commitment Sunday. It's not just about getting a pledge card with money, I'm going to give this much money to the project. It is a commitment card. We're going to ask you to commit your time, weekly worship, monthly small groups, sharing your faith in Jesus, and the money aspect is going to flow from that. But ultimately, we all need to grow in our faith through this whole process. We can build a new gym, and I don't know, maybe hire a director of facilities or something to rent it out and come up with basketball leagues and activities and things like that. But what's gonna make the impact in the kingdom is if one of you grandmas are there, or to be with the kids during the craft hour. One of you grandpas are there to just have a little devotion after open gym basketball night with the teenagers, right? That's where we're going to make the impact. And so it's not just the buildings, right? It's about a whole ministry coming together to make a difference in the kingdom. Lonnie Martz, our campaign director, and sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. You try that. It's that one, yeah.
All right, my name is Lonnie Mart. I am the Capital Campaign Director, and I've been working with Rachel and Craig and Michelle and a whole cast of very talented people over the last, 12 weeks or so. And so we're really kicking this off today. So the program kicks off with, and I'll walk you kind of through the program. This is the boring part, and Steve gets to do, here's all the really cool buildings we're going to build. So the good thing is that with the LCEF and the ministry solutions that they have, we're not doing this alone. So as Pastor Mark alluded to, they've really been with us as we've created our vision and our, who we are and how we approach this. And so Reverend Billy Barath and Reverend Dr. Eric Kenoff, Eric's been here. He was just here this past week and spends time with the team and really coaches and guides. And they've done this for many different churches, and so they've have lots of experience, and that's exactly what we need to take advantage of. And so we appreciate the time that they're providing us. Today's Inform Sunday, so it's really our beginning of the campaign, and it's the launch piece of this. And it's really, we're going to spend the next 8 weeks prior to Commitment Sunday. 4 of those will be really around informing and soliciting questions and gathering, insights from the rest of the congregation, and really trying to get everyone kind of onto the same page and on the design and understanding. And so this is your opportunity to really spend the next 8 weeks next 4 weeks with questions, inquiries. We'll have some small group forums. I believe you're going to most of Pastor Mark and Jeremy will be visiting the men's groups and all the different Bible studies as well, just to have some of these conversations. So over the next 4 weeks, we'll be spending a lot of time updating the FAQs. So please, as you have questions, if you don't get them answered today, just send those in to Pastor Mark, or if you see me, you can certainly give them to me as well, and we'll continue to update those FAQs as we go forward. The next phase, which is the most important phase, and that's Inspire. And this is where we'll spend a lot of time asking for God's help to guide us in our commitments that we make of both time, treasure, and talent. So we'll spend time individually and as a group. And then Craig and Michelle are going to be leading us on a prayer walk on February 12th, which is a Saturday, and there'll be a lot more information that'll come out from that to kind of help us through the Inspire element. And again, that runs 4 weeks, and so there'll be a sermon series that'll be wrapped around that, and we started that today. So continue to pray for that. And then it culminates on Commitment Sunday, which is March 6th. So that'll be the day, as Pastor Mark communicated, is we'll all bring forward our commitment cards and what we intend to provide over the next 3 years. It is a 3-year commitment, and so it's however you want to provide those time, talent, and treasure. We'll write those down, we'll bring them forward, and commit that to God.
My name is Steve Bardusin, and I am the architect for the project, and I'm going to get this out of here. So is this streamed? Are we streaming it for Jeremy and everybody? So, sorry, I'm going to throw this out of here. Hey, Jeremy, we love you. We love your heart. You're an incredible guy, and so Lord bless you, and we're thinking of you. I know that you're struggling with it, and so thank you for you being one of the spearheads of this. So we're really appreciative of you. So my goal in life, now that I'm in my 60s, is to pour myself into the next generation, and my wife and I. And so part of that is through business, mentoring different people, especially working with Arizona State University, but also, of course, ministry and discipleship in my church. But I'm also a Lutheran. I love Jesus, but I'm a Lutheran, right? Is that what they say? But no, I was born and raised in a Lutheran church in Minnesota, and that's where I was born and raised, and did everything, was there. Anytime the doors were open, we were there. And so this is very close to my heart. And so this project has just been an opportunity for me to reconnect a lot with my Lutheran theological heritage and all the rest. And so you're actually going to see some of that come out in the buildings as we get further along. And so that's our hope, is that you can be more involved as well. But let me tell you a little bit about the project. That's enough about me. So the project, golf companies started it out, and they did the due diligence of the different spaces and what needed to be able to happen, what would the potential giving be, and all the rest. Then they brought us along with Concord Construction, and we have worked with Concord on several different churches, and that is the kind of our calling as Bardusin Architects, is we do commercial work all over. We've done projects all around you, small, large, things like Stagecoach Village in Cave Creek. But we did Highlands Church with Concord, and we've done other projects around there with Concord, and so they were selected as the general contractor. So they're going to be on, and they also They do a lot of Lutheran churches also, actually, but they're really neat people. I'm going to skip to the very back here to be able to better describe from the beginning. So this is an overview if you're obviously flying over the top. And to the right over here is that is the north, and this is Scottsdale Road right here. And this building is our sanctuary building right now, with the offices being right here. We have our breezeway, we have the preschool, and we have this building right here. So what we're talking about is extending the campus over, and so putting this contemporary worship space where, kind of like where the circle is, it's really where you drive up, and then providing the Family Life Center next to this building, like Pastor Mark said. And in the middle, we're going to have this courtyard kind of area, which we'll talk about. But I wanted you guys to kind of see it all in place. And there's going to be lots of imagery and things over this month that you'll see. And things that I would love to promise you, but I don't want to overpromise and underprovide. We believe that 85% of a church's philosophy of ministry should be able to be understood by the person that comes for the first time by the time their bottom hits the cushion. Meaning, what's this church about? And to be honest, we literally have had some of our staff members drive all the way up to Carefree Highway and missed it. They just missed it, looking for the church and missed it. And so what we feel like is the life of what's happening in here over the last however many months that we've been, well, it's been almost a year, that we've been, this year coming up, it'll have been a year, that the life that's happening in this congregation is not really well reflected from an architect's standpoint to the community. We feel like there's a lot more life in here than is being expressed from a drive-by. And so we really want to be able to bring that in, and we're going to talk about that. So let's go back and talk about some of those components. So here's our sanctuary expansion. This is the current sanctuary, but we're expanding it out and out this direction. So both sanctuaries, worship spaces will be able to hold about 400 people. We're going to transform that a little bit with extra natural daylight, but the essence of that space is really cool. We really like the space, but we're going to just refresh it a little bit, new carpet, new whatnot, and maybe update it upgrade it a little bit as well. But we're going to bring in some natural daylight. Yes, we'll be keeping the stained glass and actually highlighting it a little bit more. But as a part of it, we'll be able to also develop a choir practice area and then expand the choir area as well. But here's the big move that you'll see more of, is this space right now is the offices, and we're going to have one continuous lobby from top to bottom. And then we're going to take this whole area here, and that whole area is going to be nurseries, so that the nurseries can be halfway in between the two venues. And the reason for this space in the middle is we're calling that the commons, is we want this to be a congregation with two worship venues, not to be two separate churches. Our experience has been with churches that have a similar setup, is it's very easy for it to feel like two different churches. We've actually even done a church where there was two sides to it, that the middle was this weird space, and it kind of had two wings, and the people had been going there for 20 years, didn't know the people on the other side of, they only had one service, didn't know the people on the other side of the wing, and we're trying to bring it together. And it's similar to here. We want to have this commons lobby so that you guys can intermingle, so that there's a multi-generational impact that you guys can have in the community. And then, of course, mom and dad like to have of young infants, want to have them close, so that's why we're building out this space right here. That also becomes a cry room with glass, one-way glass, so that this can be shot in there. We've already been working together with the team, the Contemporary Worship Center. This is really cool, but and I've really enjoyed working with the church, but this is going to be the most dynamic space that I think we've ever done. We've done about 100 churches, And it just had a lot of life to it, and we're really excited about how it'll flow. But it'll also have about 400 people in here, and it'll have a stage, but this will all be glass, so that there's a inside-outside kind of a feel, and then the whole thing is behind this weird serpentine screen that you'll see the images that kind of mimics the ribs of the saguaro, and so those curves are kind of mimicking the saguaro, but then when the sun comes, the shade mimics the mountain profile of what you have, and so it's literally desert foothills, so that building will have the desert feel of the saguaro, and it'll have the shade of the foothills to mimic those. So that's a little bit about it. You can see here's the lobby space out front, but that will connect right there with the rest of it, and I think that's probably good enough, but it'll still be a very intimate space. In fact, I think the distances we'll have 400 instead of 150, and I think the distances are only to about that column back there. So it's just more of a wraparound fan shape. Really, really special place. LED video wall and all the rest. This building, we will be taking this space, we'll make the stage a little bit smaller for the children's ministry. And this is like a gathering area, check-in space, and then the children will be going into their various classrooms, and these walls are actually just glass roll-up garage doors. And we've done this if you've been to McDowell Mountain Community Church that we did. We have this kind of concept as well, that they can come together and have like a children's church, but they can also go back to their own spaces, and you can roll up the garage doors and have this whole room still be used by the preschool or by any kind of functions, such as the original fellowship hall function, along with expanding the kitchen area and expanding this space for 4th and 5th graders, because we found that that's the age group that we lose the quickest. You know, the middle school's cool, high school's cool, but it's not cool when you're a 5th grader and you're hanging out with kindergartners. And so they kind of have their own space. We'll expand that as well. We'll refresh the bathrooms and all the rest. And then the Family Life Center, it's, again, things that you've probably already seen in your packet, but an actual gym that can be split in two, so we can have 2 games going on at the same time with pull-out bleachers. But it also has a stage, so that this youth room that's dedicated, that's where the foosball and everything else is, that they could come out here, again, okay, Lexan, but a glass garage door here that they can roll out and have their worship here, so that when they have 200, 300, 400 people in their youth group, that they can have their own band on the stage. And then behind that's where the offices are that we already spoke about, and then some classrooms up here for whatever we can, HOAs and the community, AA groups, and all the different things, along with showers and all the rest. Preschool, yes, we are going to be, really helping to try to transform some of this space and really give it a refresh, but also the 2 play areas that's already been mentioned. And then we get to the outdoor gathering area. This is North Scottsdale. This is incredible weather. This is an opportunity for us to do a lot outside. And so this space here, I called it a courtyard, but as we've been praying about it, and thank you guys, because you're one of the first churches that we've had that actually on Sundays been praying for us as a team, and we're praying for you. And we have our staff prayer times at least once a week, if not every day, depends upon how badly we need help. But we've just enjoyed the feedback, and so we try to listen to what the Holy Spirit says and what we should be doing with it. And we felt like this courtyard, I know I'm going to step on somebody's toes, so I apologize ahead of time, but this does remind me of the projects that I worked on in years ago, more of commercial kind of a courtyard, and we felt like this was supposed to be more sacred. And the word sacred and reverent were the words that kind of came out. And so what we're thinking is that this is going to be a cloister, meaning a place you'd walk around, and then walk into, but it has more sacred feel to it. And you'll be seeing that more evident, but just as an example, in some of these gathering areas, like this middle space here, and this is an area with an amphitheater, a grass-sloped amphitheater, and this space, and then out front for the gathering area, that we have these shade structures in there, and right now the two small shade structures are sized the exact size as the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle. So this area of this is a place that's holy for us to be able to gather. This is where discipleship happens. And then the middle one is the exact size of the Holy of Holies in the temple, both Solomon's temple as well as the next temple, whatever you feel about the next temple, and the second temple that was built during Ezra and Nehemiah's time. So we'll literally have a piece of concrete there that's the shape of the Ark of the Covenant, where God's presence came, and that's where I would want to be married. I was telling the last group, I'm married, but if I was to be married again, I'd want to be married right there, right over the top of that. But anyway, so this space we feel like is just going to be this really special, sacred kind of space for a lot of things to be able to occur from a community standpoint. And it's also neutral. It's more of a place where people that are coming from the gym, just for the gym, would be able to feel more comfortable with. We'll go back, and there'll be questions that you have, and so I'm going to skip over just to some of the specifics. Phases. What we're thinking is the phase 1 would be the contemporary. This is a tough call, but what we're thinking is the contemporary worship service, the venue. And the reason for that is severalfold, but one of them is that is going to be a landmark building, meaning it's the closest that any building will be allowed to go to Scottsdale Road ever, because we're grandfathered in because of the 96 building. So we're going to be closer than any building. We're the only major building, from up there all the way down to there, and it'll have a presence to it. There's also the driveway opening, and so you'll be able to see this building. And so we feel like this is something that would be architecturally, we just felt like we're on holy ground. And so I did things when we were designing that I've never done, working with other architects to make sure I'm not being too crazy with it, because we feel like this is an opportunity, a once in a lifetime kind of an opportunity to be able to impact North Scottsdale. But we also, that sets the tone for the campus, and it allows us to be able to have, to grow this service specifically. Phase 2 would be that sanctuary with that commons area and the preschool nursery area. And phase 3 would be the Family Life Center. Now, this building and the preschool would also be part of phase 1. And again, we're going to go over this more, and I'm sure you'll have more questions about it. Cost. We don't know exactly what the cost will be in 2 years, or however long it is, right? Because you can think about what you would have suspected your home would have been worth 2 years ago, and it would have been wrong because of the craziness of cost escalation. We don't know if that's going to continue up, if it's going to go down, but we've had estimates of if we were just to do everything we wanted to, it would be between $15 and $19 million. As architects of churches, we know that we are given a budget and we end up fitting that. So the budget the building will change and it'll fit the budget. But right now what we're saying is phase 1 would be $8 million to build that building, fix this one, fix that one, and do some refresh on the campus. It's about roughly $8 million. $4 million for the sanctuary part with the commons, the phase 2, and the third phase of the Family Life Center about 4.6. That's $16.6 million. We can save about $1.5 million roughly by doing all of it together. That's just, we don't know exactly, but we know that the cost, the contractors' costs come back and forth, and having the subcontractor, the plumbers working on this building, then they go over and do the base over there, and they go to the base over there, and they know that they're going to be on campus for the next year and a half, or whatever, however long it takes, they're going to give us a better price. So we know we can save money. There's also ways to save money by using smaller contractors for pieces of it, components like this building and the next building. So there's lots of ideas, a lot of levers that we have to go up and down to be able to save money. But we're throwing out what we think, that's kind of in between 15 and 19 million. So what is the fundraising goal? Here's the goal. Is the first goal would be $8 million, which would actually, if we were to borrow, which Pastor Mark will talk about, but if we were to borrow, we could do the first 2 phases with $8 million. The praise goal of $12 million would be to do the whole campus and borrow. And then the hallelujah goal of $16 million would be to be able to do all the campus and not have to borrow, and potentially even pay off the existing debt. So those are the 3 that you'll see in your pamphlets.
It's very exciting. I think we have a building committee that's been working really hard. We got a capital campaign committee that's been working really hard. And we got an architect and his team has been working really hard. So I just want to give them a big thank you for the work that's gotten us to this point. And we'll leave with a blessing from the New Testament. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with us all. Amen.